This is the Impressions Xchange podcast.
Impressions Xchange podcast,
where all topics impacting the graphic imaging and printing industry are addressed via in-depth news coverage, analysis, and timely interviews inside the commercial, packaging, wide format, and in-plant communities.
Hi, welcome to Impressions Xchange. I'm Mark Michelson, Editor-in-Chief of Printing Impressions. It's my pleasure to have with me today Alon Bar-Shany, who's the GM of HP Indigo. We're talking all the way where he's from in Israel. Welcome, Alon.
Welcome. Good morning and good afternoon for me.
Thank you. Unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 situation, both Dscoop and drupa also were canceled this year. But I know HP Indigo had some major announcements that you were planning to present at both those events. I was wondering if you could just talk to our commercial printing audience a little bit about what some of the new press introductions that you did introduce.
Well, first of all, it's unfortunate for the industry and for us in general that these events have been canceled / delayed into 2021. We'll see what happens in 2021. Not just because obviously for us commercially, these are important events where we introduce products and take orders, but honestly, we look forward to these events as a way to interact with our customers, to get feedback. But it is what it is. And we started developing our product portfolio right after drupa 2016, and the presses we've launched will be serving the industry well into the 2030s. So you have to step back and say it's unfortunate, and in this case it's painful, and we just hope that our customers all survive this crisis, and in a few months we'll be talking again about growth and trends in the industry. But yes, it's true. We were very excited about 2020 because we've been having this year on our calendar for a long time, because we believe that actually the portfolio we are releasing and we have released in 2020 is the most exciting one that we've introduced probably since the early days of Indigo in the 1990s when we came out with the technology. And this is true both for the commercial printing world, which is still the largest part of our business, but also for labels and packaging, which is growing very, very quickly. And there's really two distinct segments with different attributes and mega trends. And in the commercial printing world, we've tried to basically listen to the customers and leverage the fact that the install base that we're serving today, both on the A3 narrow format and on the B2 format, is scaling. It's productive. Customers are very successful. We have over 1,000 Series 4 B2 presses installed and many thousands of the 7,000 Indigo sheet fed. But again, you always have to anticipate the mega trends in the future. And we've tried to profile our existing successful customers and some companies that are still not our customers. They're still primarily offset houses. And even before this COVID-19 crisis, and I can relate to that later, I think the mega trends were very clear. The industry is consolidating. It hasn't been growing for 20 years in general, due to the mega trends of social media and many other factors, which I think are well known. And we have to find a way within these constraints to still create technologies and solutions that enable our customers to grow and to grow profitably. And today in the world, we really see two critical vectors to enable profitable growth for our customers. One is innovation, and is to actually sell something which is beyond the commodity, which enables you reasonable margins. And the other is productivity, and I would say automation. And both actually can leverage the combination of the beauty of graphic arts, of printing, the fact that at the end we're conveying emotion, we're sharing memories, we're printing on beautiful media. And people can touch and feel it, which has advantages versus social media. But it also has to be done in a way which leverages the digital capabilities of data and is done in a productive way in a world where Amazon has gotten us used to order everything and get it tomorrow. So we've profiled our customers and we've tried to come with solutions which address both innovation, which means quality, media range, special inks, special applications, moving from commercial printing into folding cartons or security, really high kind of value, sticky applications. Massive online printers today that are getting thousands of orders a day. It could be for photo albums like Shutterfly or Seaweed, but it could be for web to print, yearbooks, many applications. And these guys just need a press that runs nonstop, because their biggest fear, and this might change short term because of COVID, but I don't think long term, is actually the ability to attract and retain labor in this kind of an environment. So until a few weeks ago there was zero unemployment. Now it's gone up, but that doesn't mean that these people are capable of operating presses, finishing devices, et cetera, et cetera. So with this in mind, we really revamped our existing product lines and added significant software, hardware, ink, application features, because our philosophy is always to leave, not to leave the existing customers behind. So we have significant improvements to our existing portfolio, but specifically for the commercial print, we also launched the 5th generation of the Indigo platforms, what we call the Series 5. The Series 4 is the B2 format we introduced in 2013. And what we've done for the printers that today have massive jobs and need this non-stop printing is to design a press that has all the Indigo capabilities and actually drives a non-stop production press, which is built even more as a offset digital press with paper handling, which is offset, with multiple drawers, with color management. And this is capable of driving really insane volumes for those customers that have the job profile. And again, this is conceptually before I get into the product detail. And of course, we also understand that while a lot of the growth is going to come from the B2 space, many of our customers still really appreciate the flexibility and the versatility of the standard A3 format. There's a lot of finishing equipment out there which is optimized for that. And if you want to get into very versatile, high quality applications, this is the way to go. And therefore, we've also revamped the line of the A3, and we're offering today a commercial portfolio which has both A3 and 2 format. And actually, even applications, we're leveraging the presses we introduced for the packaging world, which are actually B1 presses, to offer customers the ability to print a large B1 portfolio, which could be posters, wallpapers, folding cartons, different kind of applications. So I'm saying what we try to do is to enable our customers to leverage the Indigo technology across the narrow A3 platform, the B2 platform with improvements, but also to actually take some of the features we've developed for the packaging world, which leverages a B1 format to enable print big posters, wallpaper, folding carton kind of applications, etc. And all of them benefit from the Indigo quality, the versatility, the print OS, infrastructure, color management, etc. And each customer can choose which format and which application is the focus area.
So without getting into speeds and feeds, though, maybe you could just briefly just highlight, what presses specifically, what they were, and I know you've sort of already indicated like where they're targeted toward, but maybe those that may not be as familiar with the actual press lineup.
Yeah, it's confusing even for ourselves because we have a pretty broad portfolio today. But let me start with the latest introduction, which is what we call the Indigo Series 5, which basically is a B2 format press. It's called the Indigo 100K. And basically, it's geared to deliver a 50% improvement in productivity over the existing Indigo 12,000, which is really the workhorse of the B2 sheet fed industry today. I mean, 95% of digital B2 sheet fed pages that were ever printed were printed on this Indigo 12,000. And it's a great press, and I'll talk later about what we're doing there, but we've taken the fundamental capabilities and made the press 50% more productive, by a combination of process speed, but also improvements across the whole line of the press, feeders, paper handling, stackers. And the intent is to have it as a non-stop press. So the 100K is capable of printing literally 100K B2 impressions every shift. So 300,000 a day, you multiply that by 20 or 30 days, depends how many days you work. It's really massive volumes. And the press is non-stop. There's no make ready, there's no handling of paper because of this multiple feeder drawer, et cetera, et cetera. And it keeps the Indigo quality, but it's really geared when you have a lot of jobs coming in and out, and you don't need all the special inks and all the special media and all these security applications, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the 100K, which is Series 5. We also understand that the 12,000, while it's a very good, robust press, first of all, had room for improvement because of all the experience we've gained. So we've taken some of the improvements and we've put it both into the 100K and into the replacement of the 12,000, which is called the 15K. But we've also added a lot of capabilities. For example, we now have a rating system, which we call HD, the high definition, which enables you 1,600 DPI. We've made the whole RIP now. So you can actually rip the image at 1,600 DPI. This enables security applications, small fonts, FM screens, higher quality, and gets us into security printing, gets us into higher quality for photo, professional photography, etc. We've made the media range thicker, so you can print folding carton applications. So these are some of the examples, and consistent with our philosophy, customers that buy a 12,000 today, or that have bought a 12,000 over the last year or two, are actually able to upgrade their 12,000 to most of the capabilities of the 15K. So a customer that spent $1 million just a year ago doesn't feel, wow, why did I do this? And that's very important for our philosophy. Now, a customer that wants a totally new platform with a 50% productivity, of course, they have to go and buy a new press because that's not upgradable. So these are some of the features and some of the thinking about how we're doing it. And without getting to details, we have a similar philosophy on the Series 3 A3 format, where we're launching the 7K, which expands the product range and the ink set and the media versatility and some of the consumables. It's also backward compatible, so somebody that bought the 7900 can get the value pack. But we've also realized that to a certain extent, unlike the B2 market, where the 12,000, 15K are high productive, but the 100K takes it to the next level. When you have the volume, the A3 portfolio, we've done something almost the opposite. We've taken the 7K, which is our fully fledged 7-color, multiple drawers, every ink you can think of, and we've introduced an entry-level version of this platform, which is called the 7 Echo, and that will enable customers to enter with the Indigo quality and the media versatility, but with a limited set of applications. So it'll have 5 colors. You can still do silver, you can still do white, you can still do fluorescent, but only 5 stations. You don't have the full 7. And some of the other features of printing on plastics and others won't be available, but it does enable you to get into the Indigo world with all the quality, print OS, workflow, color management at a much more attractive point. And this, I think, will replace some of the older presses that we've sold, but also some of the competitive toner equipment out there. That's the strategic intent.
Well, with these events canceled, and as you probably know, the Printing United show, which will be in Atlanta in October, which will be the largest graphic arts show in North America. Yeah. I mean, I would assume HP Indigo, this will really be the first chance for many U.S. customers to get exposed to these new offerings.
Yeah. So first of all, we're all hoping that by October, the world will return. I don't know if normal is the right word, but we'll be back in business. It's hard to know. It's really hard to know, but we're ready. Fortunately, we also have our demo center and experience center in Atlanta, which will have for sure very soon all the products, because these products are real. I should have mentioned the 100K has been in beta for almost a year, and we have sites in the US and in Europe. So it's not just a trade show. I mean, the product will be available for sale. The delay of these shows does not delay the launch of these products. They're all real. They'll all be available within 2020. And yes, for us, these shows are important, not just to show the technology, but to show the actual work printed by customers on these presses. And to a certain extent, the advantage of October is that we'll have more press in the market, more customer jobs. For us, drupa was not technology demos. It was real products that are out there. The products, were geared to be released in July. They will be released in July. And by October, they'll be, fully available with multiple installations. So in that sense, there is some silver lining to this bleak situation. But again, I think our customers and ourselves are here for the long run, and hopefully this will be the start of going back to normal to some extent.
Right. Well, your HP PageWide division, they also held a pre-drupa event where they announced a new inkjet press and some inkjet improvements. I'm curious as to, with sort of your sister operation, forging and doing advancements in inkjet, and several of your OEM competitors, also increasing their inkjet lineup. How do you think HP Indigo kind of still fits into that conversation?
I think it's very complementary. We don't give numbers, but at least analysts, if you look at the analyst estimates, the total Indigo business is probably larger than all the inkjet businesses together in the high end. But they're complementary markets. Inkjet has a huge advantage as it relates to speed and width, and for certain applications, HP, I think, is doing extremely well. And in many segments, specifically the publishing sector, is really driven to a large extent globally by the HP PageWide, but there are other applications. Many of our customers are joint. We have a joint go-to-market in Salesforce, so we give customers a choice. We're not telling them Indigo is best for everything or PageWide is best for everything. The reality is that if you're talking about publishing, in many cases you'll have the core of the book printed by PageWide, the covers by Indigo. If you get into high quality magazines, children's books, yearbooks, it's Indigo, because the quality, the media range, but also the cost, because the cost of inkjet with very high coverage is less attractive than Indigo. So it's complementary. There's always a small area we can go either way, and I honestly think the HP advantage of coming to customers and saying, we have inkjet, which is great, we have Indigo, which is great, we have joint workflow, we have joint business development efforts, is a better approach than saying, I have inkjet and this is the best, or I have toner and this is the best. Indigo is sort of a unique technology. And I'll also say the fact that the world is changing also means that many of the commercial customers are also looking at packaging applications, folding cartons being closer, but we have quite a few commercial customers that are getting into labels. And the fact that HP offers through Indigo or through inkjet a broader range of applications beyond commercial is of great interest, because the commercial market, as I said up front, is not growing and it is consolidating. It's still massive and there are a lot of opportunities, but at the end, some of the commercial printers are saying, I want to expand. And then they look at us as a trusted partner that fully understands digital, because honestly, and I talk a lot about this to customers, the complexity of setting up a digital business is way beyond the technology. You have to choose the right technology. You don't want to print on an inkjet something that shouldn't be printed, or vice versa. But at the end, you need a vendor that understands workflow, that understands handling 200 jobs a day, that understands digital finishing, that understands the security, in this world where cybersecurity is so critical, et cetera, et cetera. And I think this is part of the discussion today. It's not just the specs of a press itself. It's the ability to actually build a different kind of business.
Right. And I know HP also did make some announcements in terms of helping customers due to the COVID-19 pandemic, in terms of some programs to, help them financially, those types of things.
Yeah. So I think, this whole thing started in, from our perspective, actually in the beginning of the year, and obviously in China. And China at that time was also going to the New Year's. China is a very important market for us So we saw some kind of an impact. Nobody fully understood what was going on there. So obviously there was a big impact in China, and I think the good news is that now China is back in business, not exactly at the same levels as before the crisis, but definitely it's beyond this lockdown, and you see business growing, etc. And we had the benefit to a certain extent of seeing what's going on in China, what customers need, how customers also actually very quickly went into full gear supporting the efforts to combat this, be it printing, pharmaceuticals or posters or even food, because printing at the end is part of the essential supply chain to keep humanity, healthy and alive. So we saw the impact, and then as unfortunately this started to move into Europe and then the United States, etc., we were pretty proactive in talking to our customers. Some of them, especially in the labels and packaging, are actually seeing fantastic growth because there's a lot more demand for their products. So the issue there is, how do you keep presses running 24/7, sometimes in areas where you can't actually physically visit the site? And that's where all the print OS and remote capabilities we built into the presses are helping us, and people suddenly understand they can operate the press without engineer on site, and we can solve things remotely, etc. But frankly, we also have customers that are not printing. I mean, the extreme example now is India, which is under a total lockdown, and customers just can't print. So of course, we worked proactively in order to say, if you don't print, we can support you in various ways, and it's a individualized, customized approach. It's not a one size fits all. But we went through the crisis of 2009, 2010. We were a smaller business then, and it was painful for our customers. But the reality is that this crisis was the biggest accelerator of the Indigo business ever, because it forced change. And suddenly people understood, inventory doesn't make too much sense. Printing locally makes more sense. Time to market is important. Smart printing, data-driven printing is critical. And, these trends actually drove change in investments, and a crisis is an opportunity. It's going to shake up the tree for sure. But the Indigo customer DNA, by definition, is innovation, flexibility, and seizing opportunities. So everybody's now, waiting for the developments, and nobody can predict it. But there is sort of a sense, we'll get through this, we'll cooperate, we'll share. We trust HP as a vendor, and we have to emerge from this smarter, leaner, but even more digital than before. And I think, we'll have to wait and see. But strategically, while it's very painful that drupa and Dscoop this year are delayed, it could be that this shakeup in the industry will actually accelerate midterm the adoption of the portfolio we just introduced. We have to wait and see, but my gut feeling is that the timing, will take a little bit longer, but the fit to market is there.
Have you experienced any supply chain disruptions in terms of your manufacturing
No
operations?
So, no, maybe we're fortunate, but Israel reacted relatively quickly to this crisis and shut down global travel quite quickly. We continue to work all the time, so we're producing everything our customers need, ink, spare parts, etc. The transportation is open in Israel. We obviously have adjusted manufacturing just like our customers. We've moved to shifts. We don't have people coming together. The shifts are like 30 minutes apart. People are 6 feet from each other. People have masks. We check temperature, but we're meeting all the production needs. And since many of our customers are defined as essential enterprises, because a lot of them are actually producing, everything from food, pharmaceuticals, but even labels for, vaccines or tests for this COVID. So they're defined as essential enterprises. Many of them are working, and all the supply chain, even in Europe and Italy and Spain, which have been hit the hardest, we can get spare parts to any customer within 24 hours. We have a capability of a lot of spare parts on site, and I think strategically, this is fascinating. The fact that we have this print OS, which means that all our presses are connected to the cloud, and we all the time monitor, and we can tell the operator, hey, in 10 days, this and this is going to break, so we're going to send you the part and replace it now. Our presses are up and running and performing extremely well, and we've pushed more inventory to the customers, et cetera, et cetera. So far, so far so good, and it actually tested the system, and the system worked quite well. And another piece of good news is that also China is starting to come back. So if China and other countries for 6 months, you get into trouble. But at this point of time, we're fine, and you have to be always cautious and humble. But I think our customers are totally 100% okay.
I guess just as a closing question, obviously you talked to many of the key U.S. HP Indigo customers, and I'm sure you're getting a lot of reports from your leadership team based here in the U.S.
Sure.
What's sort of the general sentiment out there in terms of among your customer base? I mean, I know you talked about a lot of packaging companies are doing well. Some of the commercial folks aren't doing quite as well, but what's sort of the general sentiment with sort of this uncertainty that we have with COVID-19 and how soon the U.S. can kind of come out of it and hopefully not relapse back into it?
Yeah, it's evolving, and it's evolving fast. So, a month ago, my answer would have been totally different. I think people now are aware it's serious. They've seen over the last 2 weeks, not a lot more than that, over the last 2 weeks, in many areas, a significant drop. Some people tell me less than they had feared, but it's still a drop. They're looking to some kind of program or visibility what's going to happen in terms of when the lockdowns end. Will there be government support? In Europe, it's clear, so the government stepped in much faster and also promised certain financial support, etc. But in the US, again, it's state by state. There's different mechanisms, but people sort of feel, we have to do the right thing by talking to our end customers and delivering what we can. We have to cut costs. We have to, preserve cash flow for sure. But they're saying, eventually print will be back. And again, the sad reality is that this industry has been consolidating. There have been bankruptcies all along. And you do hear people saying with a lot of humility and pain, at the end, this is probably going to hurt these customers that are either very weak or that actually don't have digital, and probably now it's too late for them. So there will be an acceleration of consolidation. We see some of the big US companies that are struggling. One even went into Chapter 11, and that's very sad. But it's an opportunity to either emerge stronger or to enable other people to pick up some of the business. So, I can't say I hear optimism and confidence, but I think the typical commercial printer has gone through crises, which has been challenged. And actually, we're getting a lot of interest in the new portfolio, a lot of questions. Nobody's, is sort of saying, tomorrow we're going to spend money without thinking about it. But it's actually quite encouraging to see people are saying, it might be May, it might be June, it might be July. Eventually, we're going to come out of this. And in the meantime, I want to use this time to understand a lot more. What is your portfolio? What is PrintOS? How can I develop a business? What is this packaging thing? People have more time. And they also, I think, realize that this crisis is going to create opportunities. So, I think there's always worry, but most of the people I talk to are saying, hopefully within a few months, it's going to be different than it was before, but there'll also be opportunities for us. Again, not everything is in our hand, and it's a different crisis than before, obviously. But again, we've gone through many crises in this industry, and I think that's one of the nice things about this industry. The last thing I'll say, is that one of the amazing things about our customer base is that despite the competitive nature, there is a real strong community, and they're sharing. And some of it is just because some printers print, but they don't have this kind of finishing and that kind of lamination, so they cooperate. But some is this Dscoop spirit that has grown over the last 15 years. So while Dscoop physically did not happen this year, there is a lot of activities around Dscoop and a lot more interest in education and webinars and sharing and helping each other out, which I find very encouraging, very, very encouraging. I like to see the community coming together, and I really appreciate the energy and the passion of the Dscoop board and the members, that at the end, they're private individual owners, but they're not only thinking about themselves, they're thinking about the community at large, and how do we emerge from this stronger and better, and how can we as a community also help our governments, our states to fight this virus. And there are many ways that the printing industry can and is helping, which is really great to see.
Well, great. Thank you, Alon. And hopefully we'll see you in October at Printing United. And hopefully by then the industry there'll be a lot of pent up demand, and we'll be all ready for a celebration of print.
I hope so. I really hope so.